transformer. Two coils of wire wrapped around an iron core. Nothing moves. No motors, no spinning parts. Just wire and metal sitting there. You plug AC into one side. Different voltage comes out the other. But plug DC into the exact same device? Nothing. Not weak output. Not poor efficiency. Nothing. The same physical object, the same wire, the same iron. One type of electricity flows through effortlessly transformed. The other might as well be talking to a brick wall. Why? You can't answer that, can you? Because the answer isn't about electricity. It's about something more fundamental, something Edison himself never grasped, even as it destroyed his empire. The answer is that transformers are not electrical devices. They're temporal devices. They only respond to change in time. They only care about movement through moments. And that single insight, the physics of change itself, is why you're not reading this by gaslight right now. Let me show you what I mean. The standard explanation goes something like this. AC alternates, DC doesn't, and transformers need alternating current to function. You might remember this from physics class, but that explains nothing. Why do transformers need alternation? What is it about change that matters? What's actually happening inside that silent iron core that makes constancy useless and fluctuation essential? Here's what most people never learn. A transformer is not moving electricity. It's not even really about electricity. It's about fields, invisible magnetic fields. And there's a law of nature, not a suggestion, not a tendency, an absolute law that says only changing fields can push electrons. Static fields, they just sit there. They push nothing. They're invisible walls that do no work. Edison built his entire empire on static fields. Tesla saw what Edison couldn't. Let me show you what he saw. Start with something simple, something you can do right now. Find a magnet, any magnet, a fridge magnet, a magnetic phone mount, anything. Now hold it perfectly still near a piece of copper wire. Nothing happens. The magnet is there, the magnetic field is there, the wire is there, but no electricity flows, no current, nothing. Now move the magnet, slide it past the wire, sweep it back and forth. Suddenly, electrons move, current flows. You've just generated electricity from nothing but motion. Stop moving the magnet. Current stops. Move it again. Current flows again. This isn't magic. This is Faraday's law, one of the most fundamental rules in the universe. Michael Faraday discovered it in 1831, and it changed everything. Here's what he found. Magnetic fields don't push electrons just by existing. They push electrons by changing. A magnetic field that's getting stronger, getting weaker, moving, shifting. That field shoves electrons through wire. A static field, no matter how powerful, shoves nothing. Stop and think about that for a second. The field doesn't care how strong it is. It only cares whether it's changing. Strength doesn't matter. Change does. But that raises another question. What does any of this have to do with two coils of wire that never touch? Here's what's happening inside a transformer. You wrap wire into a coil. You run current through it. That current creates a magnetic field. Invisible lines of force swirling around the wire like water circling a drain. Now wrap a second coil nearby. Don't connect it to anything. Just let it sit there, a closed loop of copper. If the magnetic field from the first coil changes, those invisible field lines sweep through the second coil, and when they do, they push electrons. Current appears in the second coil, electricity conjured from nothing but shifting magnetism. This is electromagnetic induction. This is how every generator, every electric motor, every transformer on Earth works. Faraday figured this out with primitive equipment in a basement laboratory. No computers, no oscilloscopes, just wire, iron, and genius. Think about what that means. You can transfer energy between two circuits that never touch. No wires connecting them, no physical link at all. Just changing fields, leaping across empty space. But wait. If changing fields are the key, what happens when the field doesn't change? Here's where DC fails. Plug a battery into the first coil, direct current. Steady, constant, unwavering flow. For one instant, one brief moment when you first connect it, the current is rising, going from 0 to full power. During that instant, the magnetic field is growing, changing, and in that instant, the second coil feels it. A tiny pulse of induced current. Then the DC stabilizes. Current holds steady, and the magnetic field stops changing. It's still there, still strong, still surrounding the coil, but it's frozen, static, constant. and the second coil goes deaf. The field is screaming at it, but it cannot hear, because static fields don't push electrons. Only changing fields do. The electrons in the second coil feel no force. They sit motionless. Here's the thing that should bother you. The energy is right there. The magnetic field exists. It's real. You could measure it, but it cannot cross the gap. Not because of distance, not because of materials, because nothing is happening. Constancy is invisible to induction. Now here's AC, alternating current. 60 times per second, the current reverses direction. Positive, negative, never resting, never stable. The magnetic field follows, swelling, collapsing, 60 times every second. The second coil feels every single oscillation. Every surge and retreat of the field sweeps through the wire and shoves electrons. Constant induction, constant energy transfer. Not because AC is more powerful, not because it's better electricity, because it never stops changing. But that's still not the full story. Because if change is what carries energy across the gap, that raises a deeper question. Why? Why does nature care about change? Now we're at the core. Faraday's law isn't just a quirk of electromagnetism. It's a statement about the universe itself. Here's what the equations actually say. A changing magnetic field creates an electric field. Not influences, not encourages. Creates. The electric field exists because the magnetic field changed. And it works the other way, too. A changing electric field creates a magnetic field. Change creates. Stasis does not. This is why light exists. Light is just electric and magnetic fields creating each other, leapfrogging through space at 299,792,458 meters per second. Each change births the next change, on and on, forever. This should break your brain. The light reaching your eyes right now is nothing but change propagating through emptiness. And inside a transformer, you're witnessing the same principle caged in iron and copper. Change in one coil births a field. That field changes the second coil. Energy crosses the gap not as electricity, but as the act of changing. DC can't participate. It's frozen in time, and frozen things cast no influence across the gap. In your normal experience of electricity, you think about electrons flowing through wires, little particles marching in a line. You imagine energy traveling inside the copper, carried by those moving charges. That's backwards. The energy in an electrical circuit doesn't travel through the wire. It travels through the fields around the wire, the electromagnetic fields. The wire just guides it like riverbanks guide water. And in a transformer, no electrons cross from one coil to the other. None. Zero. Ever. So what's actually happening? The first coil creates a changing magnetic field. That field extends outward, passes through the iron core, and sweeps through the second coil. The field itself carries the energy. The change carries the energy. Not electricity. Change. Pause. Let me say that again. Transformers don't transfer electricity. They transfer the act of electricity changing. They harvest the motion of fields, not the fields themselves. DC creates a magnetic field, a strong, stable, powerful field. But that field is frozen. It cannot cross the gap, because crossing requires becoming different, requires flux, requires oscillation in time. This isn't engineering. This is physics at its deepest level. Tesla understood this. Edison did not. Edison built power stations every mile because DC couldn't be transformed to high voltage for efficient transmission, couldn't leverage change, couldn't leap across gaps. Tesla built one station at Niagara Falls and lit up Buffalo, 20 miles away. His AC systems could step voltage up, transmit it across vast distances, and step it back down, all because AC never stops changing. The war of currents wasn't about better technology. It was about understanding that change itself carries power, and stasis carries none. Edison bet on stillness. Tesla bet on motion through time. Tesla won. So why do transformers work for AC but not DC? Because transformers are not electrical devices. They're temporal devices. They only respond to change in time. They only transfer energy when fields are in motion, swelling, collapsing, oscillating through moments. DC is frozen, a flat line, a held breath. Its magnetic field exists, but does nothing, says nothing, transfers nothing. It's a shout with no echo. AC is alive, pulsing 60 times per second. Its fields never rest, never stabilize, never stop pushing electrons in the neighboring coil. Every oscillation carries energy across the gap. But understanding this isn't just about transformers. It's about understanding what energy actually is. Not a thing, not a substance, a process, a becoming. Energy is the universe in motion, and motion means change. 200 years ago, nobody knew this. Electricity was a parlor trick. Magnetism was a curiosity. Then Faraday wrapped wire around iron, moved a magnet, and watched electrons obey. And everything changed. The fact that we can understand this, that the universe follows rules we can discover, write down, and use to light cities, is not trivial. It's extraordinary. It's the greatest triumph of the human mind. That's what a transformer really is, not a voltage converter. A machine that harvests change itself, not comfort, not simplicity, truth. If this journey into the physics of change transformed how you see that gray box humming on the power pole, subscribe and share it with someone who still thinks transformers just convert voltage. What other everyday technology hides this kind of depth? Tell me in the comments.